yourself. Put it in the car. Okay, this 1 year that we were up there, we were gonna go ahead. We had the truck loaded, everything. We didn't have room for to bring one of ice ships. So we had the small one. It wasn't gonna be enough. Gonna be able. It wasn't gonna do well enough. So we stopped at Walmart. Timothy's walking around. We get the ice chest, hand it to Timothy and say, "This is your responsibility." We're walking around and doing stuff, and we talk in one of our sections where we were looking at everything. Set it down, and then whenever we get up to the thing, turn around and look at it. Like, where's the ice chest? And he's like, oh. Trying to figure out where he set it. Or you leave your list laying on a shelf, and you're like,
No.
yeah.
Happy Badger.
That's why I started putting my list in my phone. Yeah.
Funeral conference. Yeah. When I went over to greet her, that's what she said. She said, "You drinking this?" Yes, ma'am. I said, when I first got the cup, I figured Joey made it. No, not this time. Not this time. It's pretty close though. Yeah.
We're going to call this Quapaw Nation Business Committee meeting for January the 20th, 2024 to order this morning at 9 a.m. Frank Frazier, would you please give the opening prayer? Amen. Secretary Treasurer, would you please take roll call and declare quorum?
Lena Supernaw, Chair.
Present.
Linda Valor, Secretary Treasurer, present. Larry Mercer, member. Linda Davis, member.
Present.
Lloyd Buffalo, member. Joey Gibbswater, member.
Present.
Madam Chair, I declare a quorum.
Thank you. Would you please call for the orders of the day?
Madam Chair, orders of the day, please.
Thank you. Business Committee, are there any corrections to the December 30th meeting minutes? Since there has been no objection, is there any discussion? All those in favor of adopting the December 30th, 2023 minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes and the December 30th, 2023 meeting minutes are approved. We'll go on to the approval, disapproval of the directors and subcommittee reports as submitted. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to accept those as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the directors and subcommittee reports as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any discussion? The directors and subcommittee reports are approved as submitted. We're going to go on to the chair's report. Let us start off with acknowledging tribal member who passed away since we last met, James Dale Adams. Please lift this Quapaw family in your prayers and let us join in a moment of silence. Gonna go. Let's go on to announcements. We would like to congratulate Virginia Mouse, who is the new Quapaw Nation Gaming Authority Director. Congratulations, Virginia. Over the last few months, we have started to implement changes to the Quapaw Nation Business Committee meeting agendas and meeting conduct based on the recent civility audit of our meetings. Following are some of the key changes implemented to date. We just wanted to generate some awareness out of what those changes are and what to expect. The first one is calling for orders of the day, which is establishing and setting the meeting agenda. While it is customary to send the meeting agenda in advance, so that everybody has an indication of the matters to be considered, it is for informational purposes only. Unless the agenda is formally adopted, it is not binding. The December 16th meeting agenda was never adopted, and changes can be made to the agenda before the meeting is called to order. And that's specifically referenced in Robert's Rules of Order, Section 4162. Next item is, as new business resolutions are brought forward, we are limiting discussions to business committee members only. As Secretary Treasurer Valier explained last month very well, these are business committee meetings that are scheduled and open to all who wish to be present. However, the motions and discussion are limited to business committee members only. To invite motions and discussions of other tribal members, it broadens the venue to a general council meeting of the Quapaw Indian Council. Next change was when business committee votes are taken, we are no longer asking for abstentions. Regarding allowing subcommittee chairs and the executive directors to dialogue with individuals attending the business committee meetings, their updates are directed toward the business committee. If others present have questions, please wait until open forum and direct your questions to the business committee. You'll notice the podium has been relocated to right in the front of the room so that those updates may be provided directly to the business committee. The business committee has the authority to approve open forum rules for business committee meetings. And all of these changes have been implemented to keep the meetings moving forward and adhere to Robert's Rules of Order. Last month, there was a question raised regarding whether subcommittee meetings were open or closed. So there was an inquiry placed with all of the subcommittee chairs, and I'd like to share their feedback. For the Constitution Committee, they have weekly meetings that are open for attendance but not open for participation. The weekly open attendance is new for them. They now have a monthly meeting that is indeed open for attendance and participation from tribal members. That input is critical, and so that's why they made that change. So those meetings are open. The Cultural Committee, they're scheduled to discuss this matter at their next meeting, and we may hear an update from the chair later this morning. However, they have consistently requested input and ideas from all tribal members. Elders Committee, their meetings are open to all who wish to attend. The Election Committee, meetings are open with the exception of when confidential candidate information is being discussed. The Emergency Financial Assistance Committee, EFA, there's nothing prohibiting other tribal members from attending per their guidelines. They've never turned anyone away and have helped people who wanted to speak to them, and they have met with them. The nature of some of their written communication could be identifiable by outside people, and they'd hate for anyone to be discouraged from applying. They do not have a closed meeting but feel an open meeting might cause people to not apply. As long as the chair has known this committee, it's never been labeled as closed, and to their knowledge, they've met with anyone that has asked. Enrollment Committee. They're essentially closed meetings as the information discussed is clearly confidential pertaining to enrollment applicants. They do allow individuals to submit pertinent information regarding their application for consideration in person upon request. This request is by necessity prior to the meeting to prevent anyone from just showing up and wanting to attend. The whole committee values the privacy of all applicants. For the Events Committee, the majority of the committee feels that meetings can be open to anyone if they're interested in sitting in on one unless it pertains to budgets or something confidential. The subcommittee has the authority to go into closed session if needed to discuss those topics. So in summary, for all of the subcommittees, they all have practices or procedures in place for attendance by other tribal members all of the time or upon special request. So I hope that helps clarify whether those meetings are open or closed. Next item, we have decided to implement or re-implement a grounds crew committee comprised of 5 individuals. For those interested in serving in this capacity, please contact brent.devine@quapawnation.com, providing your contact information and a statement regarding how you would be able to contribute in a positive way to the goals of the subcommittee. The Quapaw Grounds Committee will be responsible for defining all camping rules, assign all campsites, camp registration, ensure safe and clean camp conditions, define camp occupancy, camp inheritance, and camp forfeiture. So again, if you're interested in serving in that capacity, please contact Brent Devine. Just as a reminder, we do have 2 openings on the Economic Development Subcommittee, and if you're interested in working with that group, please contact Brent. And again, there are 2 openings on that particular one. Last month, there was a question raised regarding the State and Federal Open Meetings Act we would like to address. The nation is not subject to any Oklahoma or federal open meeting laws and therefore is not in violation of those laws. First, generally, meetings of the General Council or the Business Committee, as well as any other meeting of the nation or its enterprises, are really internal tribal affairs of the nation, which are exclusively under the jurisdiction of the nation. Therefore, any open meeting law has to be expressly adopted by either General Council or the Business Committee. Second, the nation could only be subject to Oklahoma's open meetings law if it has agreed to subject itself to Oklahoma State's civil jurisdiction, which we have not. Third, research on federal open meeting law shows they are limited to federal agency meetings, but in general, any federal open meeting laws would not apply to the nation because those laws would impact the nation's exclusive right of self-governance. Thus, we are not in violation of those laws. As announced during the November 18th Business Committee meeting, we have 3 Quapaw, We have 3 Quapaw Nation Tax Commissioner openings per the amendment that was passed last July. They must be an enrolled tribal member and cannot be a current business committee member. The appointments will be announced in the new business portion of today's meeting. As announced during the November 18th Business Committee meeting, we have 5 Downstream Development Authority, Quapaw Casino Authority openings per the amendments passed last July. The new Downstream Development Authority, Quapaw Casino Authority appointment minimum requirements are each member must be at least 25 years old and an enrolled tribal member or a non-enrolled Quapaw by blood. They shall not be a current business committee member. They must be able to obtain a primary management official gaming license. No member shall be eligible for appointment to the authority who has been convicted of a crime of moral turpitude. Hospitality and gaming experience are preferred, but not an absolute requirement. The goal is to appoint tribal members who've demonstrated business, governance, and financial acumen. Broad and diverse backgrounds are what it takes to pull together the best team possible. Those appointments will be announced in the new business portion of the meeting. Next up, regarding the analysis of the Good Eagle and Bear distributions, that analysis from Hobbs, Strauss, and RSM, they're in the process of finalizing their work and providing their final report. We were hoping to share that final report this month, but it will take them a few more weeks to complete their work and before that becomes available. In the past few weeks, the Business Committee attended the following events. First was the Muskogee Creek inauguration of Principal Chief Hill and Second Chief Beaver on January the 6th, and we were honored to be invited and to participate in that. We also continue to attend Northeastern Tribal Health System and Intertribal Council board meetings to represent the Quapaw Nation, its citizens, and the nation's interests. We held an incredibly successful event earlier this month. The Elders Christmas Party was held on January 3rd, and it was really well attended. Perhaps the high attendance was because it was after the holidays in midweek. I don't know. The meal was excellent, and people are still talking about the carrots, believe it or not, the fillets, and the desserts. Thank you to Carolyn Knott for the Lord's Prayer. It was truly beautiful. The Elders Committee, the downstream staff, O-Guah-Pah Communications, Mojo Jazz, and to all those who attended. We've placed another order of the popular jackets to be sold in the museum gift shop, and those should be in about 2 weeks. Regarding upcoming events, the Quapaw Nation Tribal Court, and Charles Addington may announce this, but I wanted to get it out. The Tribal Court is coordinating 2 Oklahoma Indian Legal Services workshops. The first one, an expungement clinic, is set for April 25th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Cahota Building. Another larger event on wills will be scheduled closer to the time of powwow. The annual health fair date has been set for June the 28th. Again, that's June 28th. The powwow committee chairman, Tony Shawnee, has announced the powwow dates, and they have been set. They are July the 4th through the 7th. The DCR room block is already available, and if you would like, please feel free to use the room block code of GCOUN 24. So start making those reservations. The Uga'xpa Language Conference is scheduled for July the 24th through the 25th at Downstream. This year, we're holding a Uga'xpa Tribal Nation Youth Art Contest from January the 22nd to February the 29th, and that's available to all Uga'xpa youth. The winning art will be selected by the Uga'xpa Preservation Society Board of Directors, and it'll be utilized on the T-shirts this summer. So I think that's pretty exciting, pretty cool. So let your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids know about this art contest. The submissions should be sent to melanie.shawnee@quapawnation.com, and the flyer is out on the Quapaw Post and other Uga'xpa Tribal Nations websites and social media. Just a couple of updates on the casinos. We just met on December the 30th, and so no new financials are available since we last met for Quapaw Casino. But we did want to share, the Quapaw Casino continues to build strong invested cash reserves for the new casino build. As reported in previous months, we have the architect in place. Pre-construction management interviews were conducted over the last few weeks, and the entire BC were present for all of those interviews. We're looking forward to making a selection to commence the next phase of the detailed design, and that should continue for about 6 months. The good news is we are moving forward. Downstream, no new update, as no new financials have been made available since we last met. For Saracen, we do have a couple of items. So December gaming revenue were the second highest since opening. The second highest since opening. Pretty remarkable. Slot and table game revenues finished ahead of prior year in budget. Sportsbook volumes in December experienced a 170% increase year over year. Gaming revenues exceeded prior year by 13.6%. And Bet Saracen continues to grow and positively impact results. There is a new business resolution for a construction completion guarantee on the Saracen Casino and Resort Event Center and Hotel, up to $30 million. The resolution will be presented and voted upon by the Business Committee this morning. The completion guarantee was prepared at the request of the Saracen Bank Group. That includes Wells Fargo, Centennial, U.S. Bank, Simmons, IBC, Bank of Oklahoma, Western Alliance, Simmons, and KeyBank. Sorry, I think I repeated one of them in there. As a requirement, they required this as a requirement to access the already negotiated line of credit from 2021. The completion guarantee does not require pledging or encumbering assets of the nation as collateral. The Downstream Development Authority in its entirety is the sole member of Saracen Development, LLC. However, this is a completion guarantee of the Quapaw Nation, therefore it requires a Quapaw Nation resolution. The tribe is protecting its billion-dollar asset on behalf of the Quapaw people. Some of you may have questions around an entity called Mazeska Holdings, LLC. It was created in December of 2020. Mazeska is a limited liability corporation in the state of Arkansas to provide another protection layer between the Quapaw Nation and a strip mall that we commonly refer to as the Kroger building from 20 years ago. There was a Kroger's there like 20 years ago, but hasn't been there since that time, but it's still called the Kroger building. That's located in Pine Bluff. And that building's important to us because it serves as our back of house for Saracen, including accounting, human resources, training, warehouse, and a couple of rent-paying tenants. Saracen was not originally built with critical back of house space, which are necessary facilities. The Quapaw Nation purchased that strip mall to support those functions through Mozeska Holdings, LLC. That concludes the chair's report. Let's go on to the subcommittee reports. Elders Committee? Grace? We'll get you a microphone, Grace.
Thank you. Again, our chairman did mention about our Christmas party, which was a most enjoyable event. So certainly we do again thank the business committee and downstream and everybody involved. It was a nice evening. Our elders meeting had to be rescheduled due to weather. So when the new date is set, we will get out word probably through our website or Quapaw Post. But again.
Thank you, Grace. Election Committee, Frank?
Good morning.
Good morning.
As you know, we have a special election coming up to fill our vacancy. We started, you could start filing for candidacy on February or January the 16th. The last day to register will be February the 12th. We're looking at April the 20th as the election day. We have a mail out already out in the mail advising everybody of all that available. And I believe you probably already got it in the mail where you can send in for your request for absentee ballot. That's the update for now.
Thank you, Frank. And I can confirm I received my mailer from the Election Committee already last weekend. Constitution Committee, Roman?
This feels a lot more awkward. Staring at my back now. So the Constitution Committee's getting ready to really just start this intensive period of compilation. You know, we've been talking, all these conversations, all these meetings, and we've got all these collection of ideas, and now we're going to put them into something that that more symbolizes an amendment or a style for us to follow, if you will. Some of those things include business committee rules. Chairman Supinaw has talked about all of the changes that have been made to the business committee meeting and the methodology and whatnot, because we found that we're all over the place when it comes to Robert's Rules of Order. And there's going to be some other things, like we have a 3 days scheduled with the business committee in February to get together and to get your feedback on what are things that are necessary for this business committee meeting. And then we're going to also have some other ideas to propose. Do we want open forum here? Because that is our prerogative to say, it's like, yeah, we do want to include this somehow. We do want to provide feedback. So we're going to have those, you know, see where those meet before we present those to the Indian Council for final language amendment. We're going to be doing that with how the Indian Council operates with their own roles, understanding the Indian Council's role. Right now, there's just a big lack of clarity on what the rights and responsibilities of the Indian Council is, right? And it's our platform, it's our opportunity. But over the years, it's turned into, you know, a meeting of the business committee to kind of orchestrate the Indian Council, where it should be vice versa, right? So we're going to be looking at some of those roles and responsibilities for the Indian Council also, and getting those clearly defined. At the Indian Council in October, October 22nd, 22, the Indian Council authorized the Constitution Committee to go through our existing governing documents and to consolidate those documents. None of our amendments that have been made over the years have been included in our governing resolution. That's been the primary task that's been on my plate over the last month and a half, and I'm 99% done. I'm finalizing documents to share with the business committee. But we found some things that are inconsistent with how we conduct elections, how we, or what the governing resolution says after the amendments have been applied to it. So there's going to be a need for the business committee to engage legal counsel. We're going to engage legal counsel also to find out what some remedies are for these things that are coming forward. So I just want to put that out there. It is fairly concerning. We're going to be submitting, the Constitution Committee is going to be submitting some surveys to the business committee, because this is where we're at, defining clear roles, clear rules for the business committee. And it's been, Lloyd, you've already done one, but we're going to ask that you do another one. It's an entirely different makeup. It's the exact same survey that we submitted before. We got some really great information, and we want to see how far that information has changed, how far those duties have kind of strayed, if things are more in line with what the hopes were at the time. So it's just going to be some information gathering for us prior to our meeting in February. We've been in contact with the Seneca Cayuga. They're also going through a constitutional reform process. Our Constitution committees are going to be meeting, and we're just going to be sharing notes, seeing if they've got anything that we don't know, vice versa, anything that's going to help. We're open to all resources, so that's one of the ones that we thought would be a good idea to engage in. I've been in contact with Mike Longan at the BIA. He's our self-governance liaison, if you will. And he's going to start looking into our secretarial vote process so that we could start getting ready for that. I want to be ready for that October-ish. So we need to start learning about it now, really. Our goal is to have a set of amendments in front of the business committee by the beginning of April, so that the business committee has time to meet, call a general council, and we're hoping that general council could be sometime in May. That'll give the body opportunity to review the amendments so that it'll be able to align with our general election in July. So we want to avoid any extra balloting if we can. And that's it.
Roman, thank you. Could you clarify what was I heard you say a target date of October, and what?
That's for the secretarial vote before we could start getting information out to the tribe about what to expect with the secretarial process. It's going to be a completely new. We're going to engage with the election committee because it's through the secretarial process. It's a whole new application for the election. And we just want to make sure that all our ducks are in a row before we start putting out information that we don't have answers for.
Thank you. Any other questions for Roman?
No, not at this point.
Okay. Thank you. Good update. Any other subcommittees that would like to report out this morning? One moment. We've got Cultural Committee. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I don't know. I guess I missed out on why we have the podium up there with our back to everyone. So I don't want to be rude. So I'll just stay here and report. We had our cultural committee meeting yesterday and passed the minutes of the prior meeting, which will be forwarded to the business committee next week. The minutes were approved unanimously. we discussed our mission statement, which we have been working on, but that has been tabled again so that we can get further input. We had quite a big agenda. We do every time, and we didn't really have time. The room was scheduled for another class to come after us, so we didn't have time to completely do our business, but we did have priority lists, which were brought from every member for the classes, the cultural classes, cultural videos, and events to come up for this next year. And we've been working on those. We did vote. We discussed each topic with the cultural, and have submitted our suggestions, our top 5 suggestions for this coming year to the secretary for him to combine those. The videos the same. We chose our top 5 selections for those. The consensus was reached to get with the events committee that we would like to see eventually a spring gathering as well as a fall gathering in 2025. And in 2024, we would like to request the fall gathering be held in November. So it will include activities to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the 1824 treaty. So 200 years of our treaty from 1824 is quite a goal, and something that we feel like should be taken into consideration. So, of course, if it's in November, it will probably have to be indoors. And so we will keep compiling that information and get it to the tribe, to the general council. Quapaw Library, we discussed last month as well as this month. We had been given information about from the Fort Smith Symphony that they had produced a CD of Ballard's accomplishments, Lewis Ballard, and there was 5, I believe it was 5 different symphonies. I don't know what you call them, groups. They were all different types of time frame orchestrations, I guess you would call them. We received one of those in the mail from the Fort Smith Symphony. And so we are going to turn that over to the library so that people would have it there on site to listen to it. I understand the libraries are getting some new laptops and things for people to listen to things with. So that will be available, as well as we're going to see if there's any, have them investigate any copyrights limitations or things like that, that we might be able to use these works of art for our tribal use. We also discussed in new business the USS Quapaw and flag project proposal. Consensus was reached to recommend 2 proposed signs, one to provide information about the USS Quapaw at site there at the museum, and one to acknowledge the history and resilience of the Quapaw Nation despite colonization and our history, so people could better understand that and the longevity through the adversity of the Quapaw people. Since that meeting, I have learned that there already is a sign depicting the USS Quapaw, the ship with the picture of the ship on it, and so on and so forth. So we're going to look into that and see if it does exist and if it's still there. It's something that we can go ahead and adapt to what we had in mind. Other business discussed. The business committee has requested from all the committees, I assume, that discussion about our stance on allowing public participation in the meetings. And the consensus was that the guests are welcome so long as they act in accordance with Robert's rule is maintained. If they wish to address the committee, time would be provided for them to do so. If guests present who wish to speak, their name can be provided to the chair in writing so that they can be recognized during the meeting. So if anyone has information that they wish for the cultural committee to consider, please attend our meetings. Our next meeting will be held on February 16th at 1 p.m. at the classroom at the museum. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. It's a good update. Any other subcommittees this morning? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Mindy Mayfield Davis, and I'm on the New Business Enterprise Development Committee. Not a lot to tell you. We've had some issues as far as we're down 2 members, so we're kind of waiting right now to get those positions filled. One of them, unfortunately, was our chairman that we'd elected, so we will have to redo that, and he had to resign for some health issues. And unfortunately, our other member was Jim Adams, which is a very sad deal. So we're waiting on that. We've had a couple of meetings. The first one, of course, we elected our officers and stuff, and now we've got to redo some of that. Gavin McCarthy is our secretary treasurer, and has been doing a great job at kind of keeping things informed. Our second meeting, we did talk about some ideas. We talked about maybe expanding some home health type businesses, some help there. Of course, with me, we talked about a little bit of a veterinary type or even a dog boarding type facility or something to go into. Other things we looked at was helping like the processing deal with maybe doing something along the taxidermy lines or the buffalo skulls or some things that we've kind of been discarding or giving away and trying to find a way to get some revenue out of that. But like I said, right now we're kind of on hold. We have a meeting scheduled for next week, and hopefully we will get those vacancies filled and get a new chairman, and we'll be ready to get up and going.
Great. Thank you for the update. And thank you for the progress, even though without 2 members, and we'll get that addressed. Any other subcommittees? Wonderful. We're moving on. Executive Director reports. First up is Eric Boone, Chief Financial Officer. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning. December marked the end of our first quarter of our fiscal year. In the month of December, we've received revenue in the general fund of $3.3 million, bringing our total for the year to $10.2 million. Actual expenses in December were $2.76 million, bringing our total for the year to $11.5 million. Our tribal member health benefit, we spent $385,000 in December, bringing our total for the year to $1.1 million. In other departmental news, our CCDF program assisted 170 children and subsidized 54 daycare facilities. Our grants department assisted with compliance on 3 grants and discussed 2 upcoming applications. Our IT department received 139 help desk tickets and were able to close 107 of those in December. Our procurement department assisted with 116 purchase requests. Our tags department processed 121 renewals, 27 new registrations, and they did not distribute any car seats in the month of December. And our tax department collected $147,000 in revenue. And that's a wrap on December.
Eric, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Trenton Stand, Executive Director, Resource Management. Sorry, I couldn't see in the back. I wasn't sure if you were here.
All right, good morning, everybody. So I'll kick it off with some realty matters. Feed to Trust hasn't really changed much over the month of December. We're replacing that position. We still have 4 projects pending at the agency being reviewed. 7, 8 on our side, kind of in the works. So we look to initiate survey requests next week for a new one on that former Garner property. let's see, business leases for the month. We actually did get the Bureau to approve a billboard sign, which falls under our business site leases. They're reviewing one and have approved one. We were able to get 3 agriculture leases approved in December. Last year was a slow year. Actually, 2024 is our cycle off. So there's no, out of our approximately 80 leases between agriculture and residential, and lumping in the few business site leases, it's 2024 is the cycle year that none of those come due. So that kind of benefits because that lease compliance specialist is new as well, and hopefully we can get them off to some trainings. We did have 2 chat sales approved in December. Residential leases, not really much changes there. Month to month, we send out notices for non-payment, notices for committing waste in the town of Quapaw. We did have one that was in the system as initiated. It had a lease number and everything built in TAMS. However, the lessee didn't come in, finalize documents, bring in payment. That's been outstanding since prior to November, so that had to be officially removed in the system, marked as non-consummated. It's a whole little exercise once something goes in there to get it out of that. But with that all said, we do have realty staff is now back whole, which is great. They've tweaked a little bit of things, partly because that non-consummated lease I mentioned to require some administrative costs for leasing up front, being non-refundable. So it's a small fee that the realty office is able to collect, but that was a good move on their part, I felt. So I will move on over to forestry. Forestry assisted food sovereignty with one conservation activity over the month. One project that ended up being some land clearing, one tree trimming project. They split approximately 7 rick of wood. Of course, they were still recovering a little bit because they did have equipment down for half of that time. Between a repair job not really completed properly, and then the mice issues that I mentioned previously. So there was more than one issues that had them down. But they did kind of clear off a working spot over in the Mineral Heights area, where that's where they kind of were hauling all their logs and processing that firewood. So gave them a nice open spot so they didn't have to worry about getting in the way of anything. Environmental department, the recycling, I kind of made some notes on that report by just lightly color coding the cardboard, mixed paper, cans, mixed plastics under the recycling. The light green was just kind of me being able to let myself know those numbers went up. And then so if over on the remediation work, if you see the 87,705 tons that was consolidated or removed, that's a lighter red color. That number had went down for December. So recycling was exponentially higher than the previous month in all categories. The remediation work, December was down. I think those actually pretty impressive numbers given the holidays and the time that they were not working in December. I think that ended up being somewhere between like 15 and around 15 days work, 20 days work total. So that was a pretty impressive haul to get that far along. However, for the calendar year 2023, they ended up removing 1,184,087 tons of source material, and that is the most they've ever done since they've been doing it. So that was a good little plug for them. and I just kind of got that all wrapped up. So I'll be sure to be giving them kind of some kudos for that because they stayed pretty hooked up. And 2024 looks good if we can just get out of the rain, out of the wet, out of the cold. So next week's not looking too good for us, but project wise, it looks good on the horizon. Says the Kansas projects will be kicking off hopefully the spring. We've been doing planning, all our project reviews or project document reviews and things have been going on. So that's looking springtime, early summer to hopefully be able to kick those projects off. Food sovereignty, mercantile sales for December was just over $9,000. We was able to kind of figure out work with the cattle company on what meat was in excess, what had been in the freezer for a while, and figure out some costs we could offer some meat sales and push that to the public. So that kind of helped bring those costs up and helped us unload some meat that was those cuts that just people don't buy too often. So ongoing projects for them, they got the wash and pack house build out obviously still going on, which we have bi-weekly meetings with James Dawson, John Jackson, just making sure we're all on the same page. We are to the point of nearly having everything finalized for the bid. Well, we got that all done this past week, so we'll be getting information to you guys for approval to move forward with it, notify the contractor, set up pre-construction meetings and that sort of thing. James and them's lined out all the gas finally. We have made contact with an employee that actually is an employee at One Gas or what, ONG, yeah. So that's a benefit to be able to get projects moving is talking to the right people. Because the past ones were employed there. We didn't know they wasn't anymore until they just stopped responding to emails. So electric's coming along, the water side's coming along. So everything looks like it's going to tie up nicely to get everything up and running. Michelle's starting this next week, kind of drawing down on that equipment money from the grant, start getting that purchased. So that'll also help kind of make sure that equipment that says what it is fits where it needs to fit. And they'll be going over to Pitcher. There is some equipment from Saracen that they sound like they'll be utilizing as well. That way that gets to be recycled. The OSU Native Nutrition Project, as you guys know, we met on that this past week. Hopefully have that finalized here pretty soon. I had a follow-up sit down with Michelle on that last week. Water harvesting project, that's kind of, excuse me, received funding for it. I've reported on before. We're chasing more dollars to finish that project. So BI has funding for it. We just had to wait till that funding cycle opened back up so they could reapply to get enough to finish the job, because they basically just awarded us what they had left with the understanding they knew it wasn't going to complete it, so they didn't really give us a time frame to use those dollars to try to complete it because they knew it didn't fund the full project. And they're really close, excuse me, really close on wrapping up the 319 grant that they partnered with Environmental on for the pavilion. We got to get the water garden kind of finalized and some downspouts, but we're waiting on some parts to come in. Once those parts come in, then we'll hit all the grants requirements on the pictures and have an opening or whatever you want to call it, and wrap that up and get it open for everybody. We're still, of course, weather has been a hindrance, but James's guys are working on getting kind of a parking area lined out for us and doing some work down there on that building to just make it a little more accessible for the public when we're ready for it. They're working on a kind of a farm logo and name. They've been in contact with Billy Proctor with Barry's team. So they're hoping, they're not there yet, but they're hoping to be able to get the information out to tribal members to kind of get a which one you like, which one we like, get a vote on it, and things. So that'll be a fun little exercise for everybody to be involved with. And then they received that $2,000 grant from the Oklahoma Nutrition Information and Education. That's basically just outreach on the elderly SNAP program stuff that they're working on. So that'll get some outreach material out to folks. And I don't know that anything else. I think I covered that. Got that. All right, down to Quapaw Cattle Company is, excuse me, sorry about that. Feeding facilities up. Head numbers right now, 1,476. December billing was just under $100,000 out there, so that's pretty good. We do have 11,000 delinquent. We're still kind of chasing that, but they end up getting paid up, but some of them just a little late. Mitch stays in communication with those in arrears. The buffalo situation hasn't changed much. We're just down 3 head since we donated the 3 head to the guy in Tulsa, which got just still run into folks that are giving the Quapaw Nation, pats on the back for that act of kindness. Beef herd, all the fall calving's done, working, dragging, all that's wrapped up. So we don't have obviously a harvest till June with the wheat, so nothing's changed on that area since the last I reported. He is working on trying to get some water to some leased properties. I've mentioned before, we're going to be losing some ground for sure 2025 that we're leasing. That's just recirculating back into their family. So we're losing some, possibly 2 tracks. But so he's trying to get prepared for what can we do to utilize what we are leasing better, of their options. So we've sat down and went over some sites that may be able to be fenced or add water to that we could utilize for cattle a little bit better, so we don't have to drop as extensively. However, if we lose the 2 tracks that are possible, we'll probably have to reduce our herd by about 60 cows. So that would drastically change things if we can't get everything lined out and prepared for in advance. But we're going to work hard to make sure that doesn't happen. Let's see, Southwest Bison's invoice to Quapaw Cattle Company is paid completely on the invoice portion. Only thing wasn't covered in the last check was the interest owed, which, okay, we got it collected where I can quit sweating a little bit about that. So he completed in December apply for a special herd development grant, which was just funding for a mobile chute through Intertribal Buffalo Council stuff to be able to help with working those. Buffalo, the composting is in 2 weeks. We have material that's been out there for 2 weeks right now. However, these 2 weeks, it's been nasty, muddy, sloppy. Equipment got stuck the first time we took a load down there, but we are hauling to them, and we've picked up from the processing plant the past 2 weeks, so material's not going back there where it was anymore. So we've kind of started the timeline on seeing how long it takes to break down far enough to get out and use our composting windrower. Attended a USDA rural development meeting this past Thursday. I will be circulating notes, documents, and things to everybody that probably has an interest in. It's mostly in regarding to funding, but they went into detail on some things that you can do and how to help your applications along through funding through the USDA. And there's a lot of planning money out there, whether that's businesses or anything. So I will circulate that to the business committee. So if there's somebody that I missed, you guys can get it where that information needs to go if they don't have, if they wasn't on my list. So it was pretty beneficial. It was a long drive, Chickasha. And of course, hitting traffic in Tulsa on the way back wasn't fun, but we have, and I skipped over this a little bit on the environmental section, but we did offer and was accepted the environmental director position, Byron Shields, or Shield, sorry. So he looks to start his onboarding Monday, and then next week or two, he'll be starting. We're working with grants on finalizing the needs for the conservation coordinator position. We set up interviews last week for that. We have not obtained an applicant for that position yet, but I've been touching base with grants, making sure that all the document on the Grant Solutions side website is ready so we can get that money drawn down. So I haven't been pushing this one too hard because we don't have the money officially yet, even though we do, until the Grant Solutions side gets worked out, because there was a little bit kinks with the putting new people on into that system. But that is all I have. Any questions for me?
Good update.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trenton. James Dawson, Quapaw Facilities.
Good morning. We'll start off with our maintenance department, HVAC electrical personnel. They are continuing to work out at the Ray property and also nationwide as we have issues that arise. I believe yesterday we had an issue out here that the heater wasn't working. We got that fixed, so luckily it's warm in here today. We've had 21 documented completed work orders in the month of December. Our utilities department continues to work over in Pitcher, maintaining wells number 7 and 8, and then also capping and repairing lines over there. We did have a leak, a break over there that Rick got repaired and taken care of. And they also continue to help with any wastewater or water problems throughout the Quapaw Nation with tribal members and everybody else too, as they arise. Our housing department, elder housing, is completely occupied. Now we have three on the wait list. It's went down by one. As Trenton mentioned with the farmer's market wash and pack house build out, we had selected a contractor to do the spray foam insulation, and the person that we selected, the company that we selected, had a death in the family, got behind, and didn't think he was going to be able to get to us. So we have selected, we went on and moved to number 2. He suggested that we go ahead and select somebody else because he didn't know when he could get to us. We've moved on to the second person, and fortunately that person that initially bid had agreed to lower their bid to what the other guy was going to do it for. So we saved a little bit of money there. And he is expected to start next week doing the installation at the wash and pack facility. We selected the contractor for the build out, and we had some increased cost in material that we had selected for the inside of the wash and pack facility. So we asked them to resubmit a comparable material that could be used to keep it waterproof and everything, and that has been submitted. And as Trenton mentioned, we're working on getting that approved, and it'll be sent to you all for approval, and then we'll start our notice to begin work. And also, he mentioned we're working with Oklahoma Natural Gas. That was a excuse me. That was a battle that's been going on for quite a while, because John Jackson was sending emails to the person that that we were told to contact. And this went on for a couple of months and never got any. So we finally found somebody that worked for Oklahoma Natural Gas, and we got some notification that the people that we were sending emails to didn't actually work for Oklahoma Natural Gas anymore. So we've made that contact now. They have come out and done a preliminary estimate. We've got those numbers, and we're working towards that right now. But those numbers might not be what they present to us because they will make a determination based on usage, much like Liberty Electric did for the electricity, based on usage stuff. So the cost of that installation of natural gas for the greenhouses and for the wash and pack facility could go down substantially. So when we get those numbers, for sure, I'll present those to you. Not much has changed on the Ray property due to weather. We had a little bit of rain, and now we've had freeze, and now it's thawing, and it's frozen again, but it's been kind of back and forth. As I mentioned, our HVAC people and electrical personnel, they have Unit 1 in the rough. They've moved to Unit 3, so work hasn't completely stopped, but as far as slabs, we've got lot number 2, 4, and 5 are still ready. They haven't been able to deliver the house for lot 4 just because of the weather and being able to put that out there. But we continue to work on that as soon as it dries out enough for us to get back out there, or it freezes enough for us to get back out there. OLC splash pad and playground. They poured the footing for the structure and installed the rough plumbing. The mason for the structure, he's scheduled to be here next week to lay the first pass of blocks. When that's complete, they'll pour the structure foundation, and then the mason will come back to finish building the structure. Pour and place surface and water feature submittals were approved and purchased. Installation of those will come as scheduled as it completes and is ready for those. And substantial completion for both of those projects are still tentatively scheduled for March 2024. So everything looks good there. Out here at the powwow grounds, water line pressure test on the west side was successful. So everything that they installed, pressure tested, is good. Paving crew they were scheduled to mobilize beginning of this month, but due to weather, they've started doing some of the tear out, but they haven't started doing any of the build back yet because of the weather. Over 2,500 or almost 2,500 linear feet of water line installation on this side of the creek. Bill's Electric has completed the underground on the west side, and the church and all the other structures up on that side are all connected right now. So everything up there is currently working. New lights should be installed. I know I put on my report this week, but that's pending weather. That's been delayed a little bit as well because of weather. They've went ahead and moved on to installation of the underground on this side of the creek. And we're still on schedule right now for June 2024 substantial completion. We had applied for a grant, a tribal electrification grant, and we did a pre-submittal to determine if we were going to be able to do a full submittal. We weren't selected we weren't chosen to be one of those to do a full submittal on that grant. We also applied for a grant for technical assistance, and then due to the number of that, we weren't one of the ones selected. It was just a smaller grant. We did receive a Department of Energy grant, and we got notification of it. It was a grant that actually started back in fiscal year 22. We got notification that not many people had applied for that grant. So they put a deadline. We met that deadline, and we were awarded that grant. So we got the fiscal year 22, fiscal year 23 awarded in the amount of $368,013, and they're going to go ahead and award us fiscal year 24 in the amount of $252,000, which makes funds available total over $620,000. So with that grant, we will be able to do some retrofitting of our buildings to make them more energy efficient. HVAC, lighting, those things that after lights have been on for so long, they'll automatically shut off those things. Controlling the HVAC to where when there's going to be a meeting in here, we don't have to have physically somebody walk in the building. turn the heat up to 72. It's set on a timer, and just those kinds of things to make us more energy efficient. Out at the forestry building, the dirt work and the pad's been completed. Our concrete guy and the person that's putting the structure itself up is waiting for weather because they have to pour the piers for the building to set on. As soon as the weather breaks, he'll get working on that. The Lincolnville project, they will move on to the lagoon abandonment as soon as weather. I mean, weather right now for construction has been a big hindrance. So those things are they're still out there doing what they can, but all of the lagoon abandonment and connections have kind of slowed down because of weather. Out at the processing plant, we've got an approved resolution and submitted an agreement to Branco for review. Once they execute the agreement, send it back, we'll execute it on our end. And pre-construction activities, they're working on submittals right now. Branco's working on submittals. And this project will start full force once asphalt plants open back up, because there's not any asphalt plants open right now just because of cold weather. DV homes are complete. We've submitted a procurement package for both the security gate and the entrance. The culvert has already been installed. Ottawa County came and installed that for us, and he's scheduled to start. The gate is already being constructed. The cement, he's going to get in there and go ahead and get started just as soon as he's able to get in and start making his cuts and get everything to where it's ready to pour. So I'm hoping that we have a break in weather. Maybe by the end of January, we have that driveway with a gate into that facility. Roads, we're still updating our roads inventory. That includes the Ray property, the trails out there, and then we'll also include the parking lot once it's installed. I think that's it.
James, thank you. Steve is Stan, Tribal Member Services.
Morning.
Good morning.
I want to start off in my report by addressing the issues raised during the open forum at the last BC meeting regarding the OLC. I want to emphasize that the OLC staff is dedicated to providing exceptional care for all children. The outcome of the investigation to address the allegations demonstrated that the staff's unwavering dedication to creating a welcoming and nurturing environment and pride in their work. When the issue of not being informed of RSV and hand, foot, and mouth was researched, first off, there was only 3 in the class, not 8 as stated. A teacher did tell the parent that OLC had sent several children home with hand, foot, and mouth because that's what the teacher thought they had. But that was incorrect. The other children sent home tested negative for hand, foot, and mouth, and then later RSV. The parent's child that raised the issue was the only one that attended the class who tested positive for hand, foot, and mouth and RSV. Parents are only sent a note when there is a confirmed case of an illness by a doctor. The teachers now have been instructed to not specify a specific illness unless it's been confirmed and OLC has received the confirmation. So there's no misunderstanding of whether it is that illness or not. OLC's cleaning routine follows DHS guidelines, which is that all toys in the classroom are sprayed down daily and allowed to air dry. They rotate and sanitize toys weekly, but if there is an outbreak, they sanitize all toys, and the sanitation is done through the dishwasher. They haven't changed much from how they cleaned from the previous administration. They still use the same cleaning sheets for all things to be completed daily. There are still employees who work under the previous administration and are currently employed today. There were a lot of videos that were reviewed, and it took a lot of time that I looked through a lot of them. And those teachers work very hard at cleaning during nap time and at the end of the day. And I watched the whole process just to make sure what was down on the cleaning sheets was actually being done during that time. And the next issue that had been raised was the reference stabbing was checked out thoroughly, and it was determined that it was done with a popsicle stick, and yes, it did leave a red mark, but the incident report was noted poked, not stabbed, and we watched the video all on that as well. The father of the injured child was informed at the time that the other child was disciplined, an incident report was completed, and the child was suspended for a week. And it was stated in the disciplinary action that if it happened again, they would be expelled. The OLC director and the assistant director do not discipline their own children. They have agreed from the beginning that they would discipline each other's children, so there is no preference shown. The issue of parents being scared to bring their concerns and feelings of being bullied that was stated to the current OLC administration was addressed by the OLC when they sent out their annual surveys to all parents to complete anonymously in return. It was also stated during the meeting that parents could also contact me. As of today, no one has contacted me regarding that issue. And nothing has been mentioned in the survey of parents feeling bullied, to which we added specific questions in hopes of getting clarification. We have not received all the surveys back yet, but all the surveys received, 70% were either satisfied or very satisfied, and 30% were not satisfied. We are meeting throughout this survey process to discuss ways to address the issues on the ones that weren't satisfied and the issues they brought up, and continue working to make OLC the best daycare in the area. The OLC administration is open to addressing reported issues and works very hard to resolve these issues and to continue improving the OLC. The OLC staff work very hard and love all the children. They try very hard to make the OLC a great place and take pride in the care they give the children. If anyone has an issue, please direct them to tribal.services@quapawnation.com, or they may also contact Ashley or Shelby if they feel comfortable at the OLC or myself at the administration office. Now we'll move on to the fitness center. Did bring water this time. Thank you, Steve. The heat is working in here today. Thank you, James. The fitness center currently has 1,688 members. Their weekly attendance is averaging 154. Their daily attendance is averaging around 31. They continue to have 8 utilize the sauna and 4 use the tanning bed. They had 32 new memberships in December and 43 renewals. The deposits have increased over $1,000 in the last month due to the tanning bed and tanning bed product sales. The fitness center still has the ITC intern Hannah Hardcastle, and Seth Johnson Stan is now a full-time employee of the nation, and he started out through the internship program, so that's good. Moving to the enrollment department, the nation has 5,983 enrolled members and 1,707 registered voters. They have a scheduled training with One Tribe, which is the new enrollment software, in February, and they are still continuing their beta testing of One Tribe. Moving on to Title VI, the Title VI food program served 4,047 meals to elders for the month of December, and their numbers were down by 738, but that was due to the holidays and days off. They had 12 networking with caregivers and took 108 phone calls. They had 60 networking with the elders. They had 12 with the caregivers, and 6 client home and wellness checks. The higher education department, they are continuing their informational mini sessions, which are free and are done in 30-minute increments from 6 to 7:30 here in the community building. They had 5 attendees at the January 10th mini session, and they have 3 already signed up for January 24th sessions. They will also be holding some sessions on February 7th and the 21st here in the community building. Spring traditional funding assisted 93 students for a total of $212,223, and funding ends February 29th. The STEM fair was rescheduled due to the weather for January 29th at the Downstream Pavilion, and they have 22 entries. So, the Quapaw Nation Workforce Program is working on the courts a spring internship, and they are continuing to work with individuals in the workforce program. The Family Services Department served 5 new DV clients in December, and they had 0 clients referred out to any other programs. They continue to assist 24 ongoing cases, including both legal and DV services. There are 5 children in Quapaw Nation custody. 2 are Quapaw Nation children, and 3 are with other tribes. There are 13 Quapaw children in custody, either out of state or off the reservation. ICW assisted 2 families this past reporting period with guardianships and financial support, which prevented 5 children from going into foster care. ICW has 1 ongoing investigation with law enforcement with the assistance from the DV services and the entire family services team. The Native Connections Youth Program has 13 students signed up for the shawl making workshop, which will be held this afternoon here in the community building from 2 to 6, and tomorrow from 12 to 4. There are 4 general assistance clients served and 1 direct employment client served, and the intake clerk assisted with 24 calls for the month of December. Social Services Department, they processed a total of 2,146 applications for a monthly total of $185,838.50. So they actually, with the way the funds are, they're staying pretty consistent. In the past, they were very slow, but they still processed, like the utility assistance under 65, still 837. So they were still coming in thanks to extending those utility services funds. So thank you for that for all tribal members. OLC is having their next staff meeting on Tuesday, February 6th from 6 to 8. They're having on February 9th a parents' dance, which is only open to OLC families from 6 to 8. They have a total of 73 children currently, and Wednesday, February 14th, they're going to be having Valentine's parties. They will be held at 2 p.m. for the Elk classroom and 3:30 for the Buffalo classroom. And OLC has invited you all BC members to stop by anytime to visit the daycare and see what it's all about and see the children. Lastly, the Housing Services Department has been working diligently at putting together the policy and procedures, the application, and the pet addendum for the 20 homes. They are currently being reviewed before being submitted to you all for approval. The packet addresses maintenance, grievances, complaints, and pet policies for the 20 homes. We have changed to where the application approval process will be part of getting on the waiting list. We feel that that will help streamline the whole process. So once the application's approved, then we'll get that out. And that way they can fill out the application and be approved and then get on the waiting list. So then it's all done. They know they're approved and there's no questions. So hopefully we can get that out soon to tribal members that need homes. So that's all.
Eva, it's a very robust update, and thank you for directly addressing the concerns and issues that were raised regarding the OLC last month. Very
Yes, and
helpful. Thank you.
OLC is so open, and the staff is always so willing and wants to do the best for the children and the daycare. And any problems that come up, they are very open to listen, and I myself too, because we want to fix anything that's not working. So thank you all.
Thank you. Charles Addington, Department of Public Safety.
Well, good morning, everybody. For the Department of Public Safety for the month of December, pretty busy month for us. Fire and EMS had 257 calls for service that they went out on. 223 of those were medical calls and 34 were fire calls. Our fire calls were up because of the cold weather, people indoors and indoor heating issues as well. Our mobile integrated health had 111 or 101 different activities for the month. They had 52 home visits, 21 transports, and picked up medication for 16 different people. Our emergency management program had 20 different activities for the month. Our 911 communication center for the county had 8,883 calls that they fielded for the month. 1,322 of those were 911 calls. Our Quapaw Counseling Service had 152 different activities for the month. They serviced about 102 methadone patients and about 50 outpatients. The Marshal Service had submitted 341 reports for the month and had 353 different offenses that were recorded and 14 arrests. And our tribal courts had another busy month. They had 93 different activities for the month, and they heard 58 cases for the month, which is, again, a pretty big number of cases in a month. Our probation and parole office still continues to see an increase. There's a couple more people that went on probation. We have 51 active cases where folks are continuing on probation this month. So we still see that program helping out, making sure we got folks on probation, so there are alternatives to sentencing as well. Our juvenile affairs program continues to see increases as well. They get 21 active cases for the month, so we're still seeing a lot of activity in both Commerce and Quapaw schools. Our school resource officers are having lots of different incidents with children. Behavior issues there. So our juvenile officer is working hand in hand with both of our school resource officers to address those issues as well. And as the chair mentioned earlier, our court program did reach out to the Native Legal Outreach, the Wells Clinic. They're bringing back here on October 25th from 10 to 2 at the Kyoto Center. And that's going to have a Quapaw Nation expungement clinic and legal outreach. So provide those services to tribal members there. So we're glad that they're able to come put that program on for us again. Other than that, it's just been a busy month for us. Everybody's been out in the cold. Shout out to all of our public safety folks that's been out in answering these calls and things and having to stand out in the cold just like everyone else is. But, you know, they're out fighting these fires and things, and they don't have a choice to get in out of the weather and spraying water. It's been pretty taxing on some of our staff this month. So that's it for Department of Public Safety.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just have one comment. Charles, I would really like to commend our fire, EMS, and marshals for handling all of the traffic issues out on the turnpike last Sunday when the turnpike was turned down. Let them know that we appreciate everything that they do.
Thank you. They'll appreciate that. Thank you all.
Next, Everett Bandy, Culture and Events.
Good morning. So in the month of November, our division had several developments. The Cultural Committee, Events Committee, and Museum hosted the Christmas open house on December 10th. Because of the timing of our meeting last month, I already mentioned it, but that occurred in the month of December, and our museum offered a special discount. And throughout the whole month of December, they were able to make $3,669.25 in gift shop sales. The library also maintained steady circulation throughout the month and checked out 180 physical items and 101 online books. Additionally, they completed the Blessing Tree in December, which distributed gifts to 52 children, most of whom were Quapaw tribal members. During the month, the librarian was asked to attend an IMLS information literacy convening, which was a meeting that was held to provide feedback on a proposed new website from the IMLS. The website is being developed to build a database with information on health, literacy, history, and other items, and aims to provide additional tools and resources for small libraries such as our own. This was a good opportunity for the Quapaw Nation, as only 8 tribal libraries across the United States were invited to participate in this effort. The Quapaw Historic Preservation Program reviewed 201 projects, most of which were federal undertakings or tribal submissions from other tribes, and worked on multiple agreement documents with federal agencies. They also continued work archiving our departmental records into Laserfish, which is an ongoing process that we expect to take some time, as well as conducting the transcription work of historic interviews that we have in our archive that is also ongoing. Additionally, our state colleagues at Plum Bayou Mounds, which is a park in Arkansas that consists of a significant archaeological site that is affiliated to the Quapaw, as well as the Caddo and Osage, have reported that the situation up there appears to be resolved. A local group, a residential group that is nearby the mounds, had artificially elevated the lake there and was causing flooding that resulted in damage to the mounds and the archaeological site. The Quapaw Nation was engaged in addressing this issue for some time, over a decade. We were able to see some successful results. There were some legal actions that occurred and EPA assisted. EPA is continuing, the United States EPA, by the way, not our environmental department, just to be clear. The EPA is continuing to monitor water levels there, but is not pursuing further action because the water levels have reached an acceptable level, presuming nothing changes. I'm very happy to report that that occurred because we've been working on that for so long. The department also reviewed a proposed field school proposal from Plum Bayou. They are wanting to do an investigation on a site nearby and are discussing how that would work. The Historic Preservation Program staff also underwent staff training, which they do on a regular basis. This time they underwent staff training on business writing, a Mazda, which is a system that allows us to track archaeological sites in Arkansas. It's a state database. And they also underwent NEPA training. NEPA is the Environmental Protection Act, which it goes hand in hand and is very similar to the Historic Preservation Act, but it's different. So it's critical to maintain training on that. This was all part of their goal to regularly seek updated training. Additionally, a TIPO staff member attended the Winter Frolic event at the Historic Arkansas Museum in Little Rock. They provided a presentation on Quapaw painted robes, where attendees were able to touch a buffalo hide provided by Trenton Stand's department, and children were also able to create their own paper versions of painted robes, I believe on paper bags. Over 2,000 individuals attended the event in Little Rock and visited the booth that was provided by Quapaw Nation. In December, our division's employees and the events department also worked with the events committee, downstream, and others to assist with various tribal events, including the aforementioned museum open house, as well as a Breakfast with Santa event, and the planning and rescheduling of the Elders' Christmas party. There was also food purchased for the Constitution Committee meeting, which we previously reported from the at last month's meeting. And there's been planning work for the Easter egg hunt to take place this spring. When I wrote this, I didn't have the exact date, but I do now. Let me see if I can find it really quick. March 9th, thank you.
March 9th, okay.
Also in December, our division had one-on-one meetings and a division-wide meeting where we were reviewing our goals for the next year. We reviewed our position descriptions, which hasn't been done in quite some time, and we discussed ways to optimize planning of events and ways to further engage our tribal community and work more cohesively as a unit across the various departments in our division. And there were also planning and meetings held with the Quapaw Nation language consultant and 4 other tribal language specialists, individuals who have founded tribal language programs for other tribes, including the Ka, who run programs for other tribes, including the Osage, and then several other tribes who didn't wish to be identified, but provided us with critical information on how to form a language department. We developed achievable goals and metrics for ensuring this goals can be realized for our community, and have presented some position descriptions which are working their way through an approval process. Other highlights through the month were Julia Peebushy's 1-year anniversary with the Historic Preservation Program on 12/19, and Patty Billings' 15-year employment anniversary with the library on 12/22. Thank you.
Congratulations on a couple of front. The fact that that lake level issue at Plum Bayou has been resolved is a remarkable achievement. Thank you. Appreciate it. And congratulations, Julia and Patty. All right, so that concludes the executive director reports. We're going to proceed to item 10 on the agenda, reading, correction, and approval of phone polls. Member Buffalo, would you please take that phone poll?
Yes, Madam Chairman. Poll number 21991, Senior Farmers Market Distribution Program, some request by Trenton Stan. A resolution authorizing Trenton Stan, Executive Director of Resource Management, to execute the contract for the participation of the Food Sovereignty Department within the Oklahoma Nutrition Information Education Project through the University of Oklahoma. This contract has to be signed and submitted by the 10th of January. For that reason, it's an emergency. This was submitted on 1/8, approved by a vote of 6-0 on 1/8, and certified on 1/9/2024.
Is there a motion to approve this phone poll? It's the only one for the prior period.
Second.
Seconded by Member Gibbswater. Business Committee, is there any discussion on this phone poll? Those in favor of adopting the phone polls, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries and the phone poll is approved. Let's move on to new business. Member Mercer, would you please take the first one?
Yes, Madam Chair. This is resolution number 012024A. It is a resolution approving Quapaw Nation policy regarding the review of applications for the potential publication of images of funerary items such as Quapaw pottery. Whereas academic researchers and professionals, including archaeologists, periodically request Quapaw Nation consent to publish articles and research regarding Quapaw Nation affiliated funerary objects, which is not limited to, but is most often requests to include published images of ancestral Quapaw pottery. Whereas a policy for the Quapaw Tipo office to receive and process such requests and request review and comment by the Quapaw Cultural Committee has been compiled in order to provide a process for providing consent to a lack thereof. Now therefore be it resolved that the Quapaw Nation policy and procedures regarding the inclusion of funerary items in academic and professional documents is hereby implemented. Madam Chair, I request we adopt resolution number 012024A.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any, Business Committee, is there any further discussion on resolution 012024-A? We'll go to the vote. All those in favor of adopting 010224-A, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. The resolution is approved. Let's move on to the next one. Member Gibbswater, would you please take 012024-B?
This is resolution number 101224-B, a resolution approving the consent to grant of easement for a right-of-way and settlement agreement between Southern Star Central Gas Pipeline Incorporated and the owners of BIA allotment number 100. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that the Business Committee approves the settlement agreement and that the Business Committee hereby approves and ratifies any and all actions taken or accomplished prior to the date these resolutions were adopted that would have been authorized by these resolutions, but for the fact they occurred prior to the date hereof. Madam Chair, I so move to adopt resolution number 012024-B.
Second.
Thank you. Business Committee, is there any further discussion on 012024-B? All those in favor of adopting resolution 012024-B, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. Member Davis, would you please take the next one?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to quickly note, this particular resolution does not require a formal oath for these appointments. This is resolution number 012024-C. It is a resolution authorizing the appointment of the Quapaw Nation Tax Commissioners. Whereas the Business Committee approved the Quapaw Nation Tax Ordinance 4-135-A, the ordinance, on December 18th, 2023. Whereas Section 3 of the ordinance establishes the Quapaw Nation Tax Commission, the commission, which shall consist of 3 commissioners appointed by the Business Committee. Whereas the chairman and vice chair shall serve a 2-year term and the commissioner at large shall serve a 3-year term. Whereas the Business Committee solicited candidates to serve on the commission and has selected candidates that are enrolled tribal members and are eligible to serve on the commission. Perry Matthews as chairman, Bonnie Schalk as vice chairman, and Callie Bowden, commissioner at large. Therefore, be it resolved that the Business Committee hereby appoints 3 commissioners to the Quapaw Nation Tax Commission as required in Section 3 of the ordinance. Further resolve those appointments that have just been mentioned, that upon this position, they are hereby empowered to perform the duties and conduct business pertaining to the Quapaw Nation Tax Commission. Madam Chair, I so move to adopt resolution number 012024-C.
Second.
Great. Business Committee, is there any further discussion? All those in favor of adopting resolution 012024-C, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries, and if Perry, Bonnie, Allie here, would you please rise? Thank you for serving the Quapaw Nation in this capacity. Secretary Treasurer Valier, would you please take the next one?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe I'll be taking both D and E, since they both pertain to the same people and the same board. Resolution number 012024D, resolution authorizing the appointment of the Downstream Development Authority members. And resolution number 012024E, a resolution authorizing the appointment of the Quapaw Casino Authority members. Whereas the DDA shall consist of 5 voting members, with each member serving in the following positions: chairperson, secretary, treasurer, or member at large. This also applies to QCA. The chairperson and 2 members at large shall serve an initial 9-month term, while the treasurer and secretary shall serve 1-year terms. Whereas the Business Committee solicited candidates to serve on the DDA and QCA and has selected candidates that are enrolled tribal members and are eligible to serve on the DDA and QCA as chairperson, secretary, treasurer, and member at large. Therefore, be it resolved that the Business Committee hereby appoints 5 members to the Downstream Development Authority
and the Quapaw Casino Authority as required in Section 114 of the DDA Charter and Section 1.4 of the QCA Charter. Further be it resolved that the Business Committee hereby appoints Huggy Supernall as chairman, Mick Wilson as secretary, Art Cusat as treasurer, Hoshi Henry as member at large, Derek Jennings as member at large, subject to successful completion of the licensing process for the primary management officials. Further be resolved that upon this position, they hereby are empowered to perform the duties and conduct business pertaining to the Downstream Development Authority and the Quapaw Casino Authority. Madam Chair, I move to adopt Resolution 012024-D and 012024-E.
Second. We've got a second. Business Committee, is there any further discussion on these two resolutions? All those in favor of adopting resolutions 012024-D and E, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. Resolution 012024-D and E have been approved.
As these members are required to take an oath, would those present today please come forward to take your oath of office? Could we unmute the mics for Hoshi and Derek, please, on Zoom? Go ahead and step forward. Can we confirm that Derek and Hoshi are both unmuted?
Can you hear me?
See you, Derek. Good morning, Hoshi. Wonderful.
Morning.
Okay, we've got all five of you. Please raise your right hands and say yes when I call your names. Do you promise to faithfully and honestly perform your duties and safeguard the authority's assets for the benefit of the nation? Huggy. Art. Mick. Hoshi. I could see her move her mouth, but I couldn't hear her. Derek.
Yes.
Congratulations. We now have Downstream Development and Quapaw Casino Authority a full 5 days before the deadline. Thank you.
Okay, I'll take the last resolution in new business. It's resolution 012024-F as in Frank. It's a resolution for approval of the Quapaw Nation completion guarantee in favor of Saracen Development LLC in connection with the credit agreement on behalf of Downstream Development Authority, Saracen Development LLC, and Mazeska Holdings LLC. Whereas the Downstream Development Authority of the Nation is an unincorporated governmental subdivision wholly owned by the nation, a sovereign, federally recognized Indian tribe, and whereas Saracen Development LLC, an Arkansas limited liability company, Saracen, is a wholly owned subsidiary of the authority formed to develop, own, operate, and manage Saracen Casino Resort, which is a commercial gaming casino and resort located in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Whereas the nation has previously approved resolutions regarding financing the Saracen Casino Resort, including but not limited to Resolution Number 073119-A, and whereas Saracen entered into a credit agreement on December 21st, 2021, as amended by Amendment Number 1, dated as of October 21, 2022, for the further development of the Saracen Resort, and whereas in connection with Amendment Number 2 to the credit agreement and to induce the lenders of the credit agreement to enter into Amendment Number 2, it is required by the lenders that the nation enter into and execute the nation's completion guarantee. Therefore, be it resolved, the Quapaw Nation Business Committee hereby authorizes Weena Supernaw Chair to execute and sign the nation completion guarantee for the Quapaw Nation with a liability cap of $30 million to guarantee the final completion of construction of the Saracen Hotel and Casino in accordance with plans and specifications on or prior to the date that is 18 months following the construction date as set forth in the guarantee. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution Number 012024-F as in Frank?
Move, Madam Chairman.
Second.
Thank you. We have a second. Business Committee, is there any further discussion? All those in favor of adopting Resolution 012024-F, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Resolution number 012024-F is approved. That concludes new business for the day. We're going to proceed to donations. Member Buffalo, would you please take the first one?
This is a request from Sean Ellick for a donation.
Celebration of Life.
Celebration Life Dance. Are they present?
Yes. Would the requesters please come forward to share with us details on this particular donation request?
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're on February 24th, we're having another Celebration of Life gourd dance for my granddaughter here. In December, we got her scans back, her big yearly scans, and still cancer free. So that's a blessing. We're requesting $800 in 3 rooms for our head staff, and the money is to go to for our dinner that we're going to prepare that evening for everybody that's there. Help pay for our head staff, get them because they're coming in from a ways off, and like I said, we was needing the rooms, and we're going to have some raffle items and stuff like that all through the evening that are going to be given away. We've already had some donations brought in and everything. We got others that are being made at this time that are coming in too. And all proceeds from this dance, like last year, go to St. Jude's to help cure these babies that are sick, inflicted like that. And it's not just a celebration of her life, but it's for all the ones that are able to be cured and survive this cancer. And because to me, no baby should ever have to go through this, ever. When she had it, I wished it was me that was had it and going through it instead of her. But she's been really strong throughout and brave. And we was just wanting to get a little help to keep this thing going. So that's why I come here today in front of you all like that. So.
Thank you. Is there a motion on this or I'm sorry, let me ask first, are there any additional questions for the family? Is there a motion for this donation?
Sure, I would recommend $500.
I'll second.
So we have a motion on the floor on a donation of $500. Business Committee, is there any further discussion on this? Hearing no further discussion, we'll proceed to the vote. All those in favor of donating $500, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries and the donation in the amount of $500
Did
is
that-
approved.
Did that cover the 3 rooms for our staff coming in too?
No, the donation was for $500 in cash. That's the way the motion was made.
Okay. Even, all right, that's one. That'll work. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Mercer, would you please take the next donation request?
Yes, Madam Chair. This is a request for $500 to $1,000, and it is a for Rylan Podgwick, which lives in Lee Summit, Missouri, to attend and travel to the Dance National Competition in Florida as a yearbook journalist. Madam Chair, I recommend $500.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion on this particular donation in the amount of $500. Business Committee, is there any discussion? We'll proceed to the vote. All those in favor of approving the donation in the amount of $500, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The donation is approved in the amount of $500. The next one, Member Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a donation request from Oklahoma Senior Games. The organization, again, is Oklahoma Senior Games, and the topic is Senior Games. The nation will be recognized with ads in Oklahoma Sports and Fitness, Oklahoma Senior Journal, and Life's Vintage Magazine, and Better with Age, as well as on 500 flyers should this donation request pass. The Senior Games is comprised of over 30 different events taking place during the months of September and October. This is an amazing opportunity for seniors to learn a lifetime sport from coaches who give encouragement and teach them skills. Madam Chair, I don't have any Quapaw seniors at this time, but I am fully aware of Quapaw seniors in the past that have participated in these Senior Games. And just speaking with them in the past, those that I do know, just the enthusiasm and excitement of reminiscing and reflecting upon those games that they participated in. I so move to make a donation of $500 for this request. Second.
Great. So we've got a motion to approve this donation request in the amount of $500. Business Committee, is there any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the donation in the amount of $500, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The donation is approved for the Oklahoma Senior Games in the amount of $500. So we're going to go on to open forum now. I do want to remind everybody the open forum rules remain in place. In order to speak, an individual must have submitted the form or the topic must pertain to topics on today's agenda. There is a 5-minute time limit. 1 trip to the podium per tribal member. Please be respectful. Let's start with those who submitted forms. Let's see, we've got Bonnie Schock, one of our new tax commissioners.
Good afternoon. I have 2 things, so I'll do I have a combination of 5 minutes each or
5 minutes
total? 5 minutes?
Total.
Okay. I have lived at the elder housing for 4 years and just recently have started having these issues with my vents. And Mr. Dawson and I are going to have to agree to disagree. He says it's soot. I don't believe that this is soot. I believe it needs to be investigated further. I had a gentleman that has a heating and air conditioning company in Tulsa. I was going to have him check them out for me. And consequently, he was in Kansas City visiting his son, so I did not make the trip. But it is, I think they need to be, Mr. Dawson did have them checked by someone related to their company. but they say it's soot. I burn one candle. I don't have a fireplace. Why is this all of a sudden happening after 4 years of living there? That's my complaint on that. The other one is we never get mentioned. We are the elder committee. I mean, we do live in the elder committee. We have requested a fence. The fence has gone, my fence, or I shouldn't say my fence, the side of my house, the fence was put up. The rest of the fences have not been put up. And Mr. Dawson said he had 7 people that he had to address. Those 7 people, if you can't get hold of them twice, then they shouldn't be considered. It's majority rules, and why don't we have our fences?
So the 2 topics are the air handler filters and the fence not being complete.
Yes.
Okay. Let us take that offline, Bonnie, and we'll get them addressed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One question.
Bonnie?
Is your furnace gas?
All right, next up on an individual who had submitted a form. Is Linda Kay here? No? Okay. John Barry? Not present. Anyone else for open forum? The topic has to pertain to today's agenda. Roman Cahiga?
I have an addendum to my report. Also, announcement for everybody else. I believe this is the right venue to do this. On March 23rd, 24th, Saturday and Sunday, we're negotiating with on the dates with the Native Nation Institute to come in and do a constitutional seminar, similar to the nation building seminar that we had a few months ago. There are some folks here who did participate in that, and they found it very helpful. So we tried to find a weekend where nothing was going on. Last time we had a lot going on in our nation, and it was unfortunate. But just want to put that date out there that it's going to be open to everybody to attend.
Roman, will there be a link or something that will come out once that date gets confirmation for registration?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it'll be their link through I forget what platform they use, but it'll be the same type that we had last time.
For the November?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else for open forum? Member Mercer, would you please close us out in prayer?
Father, we thank you for everyone that's turned out in this cold weather. We ask in your name humbly that you will help and protect our elders who might have issues staying warm in this cold weather. Let us check on one another and give a helping hand in this extreme condition, because that is what we're here for, is to help one another. The only reason that we're here. We worship you. We thank you for this meeting today. We thank you that it was a good meeting. Hopefully everyone has gleaned something from this. We ask you to go with everyone, be safe on their journeys, whether it be home or to wherever, and that you will bring us all back again. We ask.
Amen.
We have a motion to adjourn. Great. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned at 10:57 a.m.